So here's just a brief first look at our Hyundai Azera. It is a big V6 3800 motor under the hood. She is a big, heavy car, 17-inch wheels and rims. So she's a big, heavy old girl. Runs pretty well overall. It's actually the limited or loaded edition, you could say, the limited power everything. And she's been off the road for a couple years. Guy was using it to drive back and forth on a dirt road, and it's just to the point where he's like, you know what, I'm just going to sell, get rid of it. And just a quick look under the hood before we start taking stuff off. You can see a big old motor. Again, you know, we'll take all the bumper, the lights, everything off and start looking into what we can maneuver some. And there you have it. We got the plastic hood cover, the electric fan. Don't need it, and creates a lot of space. The headlights off and the front plastic bumper off, and you can see how much we've opened it up and uncovered that motor. So I'm now taking, so the air box, there's the top of it. And I like to, if I can, like how this one has almost like a natural filter there. I like to take that boxy kind of air filter out because you don't need it. And I always make sure the car runs fine. Some cars do act up a little bit if the throttle body doesn't have the air box like normal. The Cobalts in particular seem to now and then do that, so I leave them on. But this one I like to take out, and I'll take out the battery box, which I've unbolted, and then this piece here, because it not only makes so much more space, in particular having that battery box away from any electronics or anything that it could damage or break if it got pressed on the front. I actually had that happen in a cruiser once. But I can also possibly at least move over a little bit, and then I'll remount that one on that bolt there and just leave the other one, put a little spray foam around it. I can get, though, the fuse box further away from the fender in case I got pressed on and that fuse box got damaged or a fuse popped, because I run, again, stock. So, and there we have it. Again, battery box out. You can see the shifter and the cable there for the transmission, so that way that can't possibly get damaged or pressed into that. I've had that happen. Pinned me in drive, and I was in trouble with a good PT Cruiser, unfortunately. And then again, that I believe is tied to the transmission, I think, but it was just bolted into the back of the air filter there. I'll just leave that there for now, but again, I'll see if I can move this over, and then I'll spray foam all that kind of to the inside of the strut well there, and that'll be nice and secure. And we have all this space now up front, so that if she's getting pressed in, shouldn't matter. And I'll just put that again back on. I took it off as I was moving it. So as the wind's picking up, just to show, this old girl's got a big old trunk, and we got the just plastic out and the cloth that was in there covering up the spare tire, fan, and a couple pieces I threw out from the motor too. But you can see she has a lot of space. We'll of course press up that trunk to try to get her fold better. So we have added to our discard pile for cleanup day. A little bit of a headache with those bottom seats. Those front clips, sometimes they're tricky. You just gotta like pull the lever a little to the side so that it releases and then just pick them up. But it's tricky to do, get to timing. And then just a couple bolts on the bottom. So spacious in the back as well now. Again, she's a big old girl. Starting to show her size, but we're opening up. And here we are inside now, our derby stall. We moved it inside so we can continue tinkering with things. We'll continue with the cosmetic things, the rear view mirrors, the windows, the inner plastics, all that stuff, as well as the rear lights, as well as the rear bumper. It's just a little update on things we've got gone here. We've pretty much got everything up to the carpet up front stripped out. I actually am going to try to not remove the seats, but get as much of the carpet as I can out, leaving just a little bit under the seats, but they usually don't say anything about that. Same thing up here, I'll get that all torn out. And the reason is because these seats are power everything, and I am planning to leave the passenger seat in. So a little excited to say I got the green light from Mom to allow my oldest son Hudson to make a run. So I was kind of starting to tear into this car with that hope that this would be his car. So it seems like that will be it. Hopefully she doesn't change her mind or get a change of heart. So he's excited, I'm excited. So just inside, got everything. Again, the roof out, the doors out. Again, these windows I'll take out whenever I take the other windows out because I'm afraid they might break the way they're in there. And my thought is, while I could leave the stock tank, I said to my son, if for some reason I'm heading to work here soon, I work a fireworks tent for 10 days, not fun at all, but it makes enough money. I keep coming back. But afterwards, it's shortly after we're going to camp, and then there's the Derby that I'm hoping that he'll run in. Small Derby outside of Mercer, the stock youth. So I'm like, the stock tank would be perfectly fine for that Derby, I think. But the hope is, big old girl like this, not only have some fun and hopefully a good run the first time, but maybe get a second. So I dropped the tank for sure the second one. So I would put it right here, and I'm planning on my battery box going right here as long as my long battery cables will reach that far. If not, I'm gonna have to do something else. Maybe put it between my legs up here, just slide the seat back a little bit more, and that would work. But yeah, excited. Got the rear bumper off and the headlights as well. Again, I kind of take my time, just kind of work your way around, get the bolts in that in case somebody wants to either buy the lights or even the plastic bumper. So that's all off. And just tinkering around up front before I take the rest of the airbags off. And just a reminder, if you're someone that's not super familiar with cars, kind of like myself, or you're new to strip and derby cars, I run stock everything, and the thing you have to make sure you get are those impact sensors. I would say, as well as the airbags, always make sure you unplug those. But the impact sensor, for example, I always follow all the wiring around. And for example, this one just had, it might have been an impact sensor. I'm not sure what it was right there, but this wire comes under here, and I loosen these two holders here and pop the radiator back. And you can see there is, I don't know if you can see it, there's one there and one there. Those are impact sensors. And if you do not remove those and you're running a stock tank, which I may or may not be running with this car, as I mentioned, but I always unplug those. And after I unplug things, again, don't ever cut, unplug, wheel it inside the front, pull out everything from the back end. I always put power then to the battery. I always unhook whenever I'm doing it, and make sure it refires, it drives, it's not in limp mode or anything like that, because if something is wrong, just plug everything back in that you had unplugged and see if you can figure out what it was, as I've had that happen before. So again, just to show, if you're not familiar, these are the impact sensors that were in front. Right there. Usually they're around the core support area, sometimes directly on top, sometimes inside of here, maybe on the inside of the frame rail. Again, you just always got to check your wiring if you're running anything stock, and I just unplug them to begin with. Airbags, got the side airbags taken out, and again, just carefully unclip them and pull them out from the back. But I wanted to show, so here is, again, I always unplug these yellow based ones. They're usually always tied to the airbags. And again, unplug them. After you unplug some things, put the battery back to power. Don't ever unplug them with battery to power, and make sure you didn't throw off the system. But I wanted to show you, see this one here running up in, you're like, oh, there must be nothing up there. Right inside here, this is actually the 10mm bolt that's holding on. There is an impact sensor here for each side. So one there and one right there. So I always like to unplug the wiring going to the rear doors, just because you're going to take some door shots and you don't want wiring that could possibly blow a fuse, especially like me if you're running stock wiring and pretty much on stock everything, sometimes even the stock fuel. And this one has impact sensors back here on each side. You can see again the yellow for the airbag. I've unplugged those. So unfortunately, this car is power everything. It even has a power rear kind of tint thing going up there, so not to mention the power sunroof. So again, completely take the terminals off the battery, kind of unplug a number of things, make sure put battery back to power, and make sure that everything still runs fine, you're not limp mode or anything like that. Otherwise, plug them back in, see if you can figure it out. But yeah, sometimes they are hidden, and hidden well, like that one inside the door there. Just a brief look, as you can see, we have all the glass out, the front windshield. Haven't got the doors out yet. Ran out of time and wanted to get in here, as we are now going to paint her. So she's still got a little bit of work to do. Still gonna pull some of the stuff inside from the back, as well as fine tune some things up front in the motor, looping the lines and stuff like that. But so here it is. We got our camo lines drawn on, dry erase marker. It works pretty well. Don't use a permanent marker, because your paint, even if it's black and it's really dark, permanent marker will probably see through it. I learned that lesson. So dry erase marker, we kind of made a pattern of it. We have a kind of army green and then brown and black for our camo. So my son's task is to paint it. Let's see how he does and how it comes out. It should look pretty cool. There's the finished project. I think it came out pretty good. And here's what we set up with our battery setup. Again, running the youth. So dad will be over there. So one over here, and then my battery lines will just reach. so that I can get to it easily. My son, he'll have the seat slid up actually more than that, so that's not an issue. And again, we're running the stock tank. There's the line going down in for power to it. But I'm just gonna bolt this guy down here, and then that's where our battery box will go, and then the lines run up to the car. So it fits perfect to this big old girl. So just a last look as we're winding down here. It's the day before the Derby. Finish up some stuff tonight and then touch up a couple stuff in the morning. So what we have left up front, see, we've loosened up some of these guys. This is like a, I don't know, a computer. Again, I'm not super knowledgeable with this stuff, but it was mounted on the outside of the frame rail. I'm just gonna loosen these wires, just the clamps, which these are all unhooked, and pull them all up in here. Down under there where the fuse box is, where you can see I've unscrewed it and slid it in, and I bolted it back down there. And I'll spray foam again under. I'll spray foam over here. I like to just get this right here, fuse box too, is a couple more. I'll secure those together, spray foam on the outside and behind that as well as under it, so they're only stationary, they're not bouncing around. But just in case you get pressed in the front, they're not right against the sheet metal there to where you're likely to get it damaged and blow a fuse. And if you're running a stock tank like I am and stock wiring, then you're pretty much done. So only thing left is, you see all the space is up front here. I believe we have everything unhooked we need to. Again, we'll just pull the wires in, same thing over here. But I got my battery lines. These babies will just hook in positive, and then there's the negative, and then run through and secure. And then it's difficult to see, but I'll slide this guy off here. I believe right there, it's kind of tough to see the way I have the light here. Yes. There we go. But right there, I do believe going in there is the coolant temp sensor. So it's in a little bit of a precarious spot because I can't loosen it easily. But again, the pipe plugs got from AutoZone. Want to undo that, put my pipe plug in just to block it. I'll lose a little bit of water or whatever, but I'll top it off anyways with fabric softener and that. But that way I've got I'll just zip tie it out here so that she's just reading the air, and the motor will cook if it needs to. It doesn't shut off the computer. Again, loop the tranny lines is actually simple. They were just two simple clamps right here. These guys, just put them together, and then I looped them again with my piece and then my high pressure clamps there, and I'll just zip tie it there so it's tucked back in well inside the frame rail. And again, I know a lot of people sell them, but I just hardware store, this right here is the piece, if I get the focus, that I just loop in between them and then clamp down with a high pressure clamp, and works great. So pretty much done there. Again, just a little bit more tidying up. Again, we got our chain in there for our kind of safety. Airbags should be dead. I'm not worried about the passenger one, but I am going to try to remove this one. And then just the rear glass, and that's pretty much it. So winding down, final moments. Hopefully it's going to be a tough car. We'll see.